Alright guys, welcome to the video. Anthony Special here with Hawkeye Traders. Super excited to talk about this because this was something that I used in my own personal trading this morning. Now, it wasn't something that I acted upon, however, it led me to believe that there was at least a temporary low placed when I came to my trading terminal. So I'm going to kind of walk you guys through in this video how I start my morning off every day. I have my own ritual that I kind of go through when I get up, the things that I do, but when it comes to actually logging into my trading terminal, I really like to sit and watch the market for at least a half an hour to kind of get a feel for what's transpiring. Because more often than not, a lot of traders come to the terminal, and this was a habit I had to break along the way. We'd show up at the terminal and be just so ready to place a trade that we would be anxious that we're missing out on something rather than taking a step back and just observing. So I have a rule that I've implemented into my trade plan that I follow to this day, and it's really been a rule that I think has been very helpful to me. And that is this: take 30 minutes before placing a trade, assess the market that you're trading, check the economic news calendar, mark up your chart for any potential unexpected volatility that may occur that could be potentially predictable. What do I mean by that? If there's economic news coming out that could impact the market you're trading, I mark it off on my chart. I don't think it's a terrible idea. I advocate for folks to do that all the time because I think it's really important. So let's kind of talk about this thought process and how the Hawkeye Indicators led me to make a fairly conscious decision this morning that impacted the trades that I ended up actually placing as the day went on. So what you see in front of you is the Light Sweet Futures current contract, okay? On the left here is a 5-minute chart. On the right here is a 3-minute chart. Now, these are the two most common short-term time frames that I focus on, all right? Every once in a while, I look at the 2-minute or the 1-minute, but really the 3 and the 5 are the two that play a vital role for myself personally, all right? When it comes to higher time frames, I dial down from a weekly to a daily to a 4-hour chart. All right, so those are my 3 higher time frames, and then my 3 lower time frames are a 5, a 3, and then typically a 1. More often than not, I'm not too focused on the 1-minute. Perhaps I'll take a look at the 15-minute. So if I really wanted to pick 3 time frames that were meaningful to me on a decision-making basis, it would be the 15, the 5, and the 3. But I run a reference chart on a 3-minute. I trade typically on a 5-minute. My reference chart pointed something out to me that I thought was noteworthy, and I want to share it with you because the 5-minute chart also pointed out something that was noteworthy, and very specifically at 6:12 on the 3-minute chart and at 6:10 on the 5-minute chart. I just dropped some vertical lines there just to implement them very quickly so we can now kind of take a closer look at what I was kind of specifically looking at. And it really comes down to the Hawkeye volume, because at the end of the day, guys, volume is the only leading indicator you're ever going to see, in the market here. And if you understand volume and the relationship between volume and price action, I mean, you will look at the market from a different light that most people are overlooking, simply because A, they're not educated in it, B, they don't have any indicators to help them, and C, it does require a little bit of work to understand it. But once you do, everything changes, okay? You'll realize that your Bollinger Bands and your MACDs and everything else, the other 3,000 indicators that TradingView will offer you, all of these and all the community ones, this is all becomes meaningless if you understand volume and price action. What do you see on my charts? You see volume, right? And you see price action, because that's all I care about. So, looking at the 5-minute, I want you to notice this little doji style candle here exhibiting high selling volume. right? So when I look at the 5 minute, I go, well, perhaps we have just encountered something that is called a volume climax, right? We were in a downtrend, okay? It's all fair to say that since the Globex open, we've been in a downtrend, and then we exhibited this ultra high or high selling volume with no ability to follow through to the downside, right? We were unsuccessful in closing below the close of that candle. In fact, we started the process of what? Reversing, right? We started reversing. And then we went on to place a higher low. All right, so now let's take a look here at the 3 minute chart. Notice at the 612 candle here, we have high buying volume, okay? Now, the way the candles print, guys, it's every 5 minutes or every 3 minutes, right? Like you're still interpreting the same data. It's just what was encapsulated inside that 3 or 5 minute window. So I see a reason or a potential that there is what? Selling climax on the 5 minute. And at the same time, I see that there's a potential for buyers to have aggressively now stepped in to the market. Okay? So, as you can see, we're unsuccessful in pushing below this low, this selling climax, and we are successful in seeing buyers continue to do what? Well, step in, right? We go on to place a higher low, roughly at around 930, 935, okay? But I knew coming into my trading terminal this morning, during my first 30-minute sit, I call it, right? It's just get acclimated with what's going on. The very first thing that my eye drew to was these two specific candles, okay? Right here. The 610 candle on the 5 minute and the 612 candle on the 3 minute. So I said to myself, hey, perhaps later in the day we could retest this area, but for now, understanding the relationship between what the volume and price action is doing, confirming it on multiple time frames, there's a better than not chance that we have put in either a session low or a short-term low. Well, ultimately, we put in I would call it a pre-market session low, okay? The market did not revisit this level here until the close of the crude session as we approached 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I'm just going to dial it out so you can kind of see how it looks on both time frames. But notice we did not revisit that low, right? Until, at the end of the crude session, which closes technically, it's a 9 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time session. So what did we end up doing here? Well, this last high before this fall on both time frames provided what? Resistance for the entire session, okay? 82.80 to be specific, all right? I took two shorts off of this level. I shorted it here at the first run, okay? I took profits along the way, and it did reverse back on me, okay? Came back up here, shorted it again, just shortly after 11 a.m., all right? And it did push back on me after I started advancing my stop. Now, had I not had to leave the office and attend a doctor's appointment, my intent was to revisit the session lows, and I believe that that was certainly possible. You could see the market did pull back and ultimately go on to do that. Again, I had to leave the market. I will include a video with this blog post so that if you desire to watch it, it does show essentially the entire second trade here. I forgot to hit the record button on the first one. Truth be told, I was trading live with some folks, so I was paying attention to them more than myself. But I will include a video. There's no audio to it in this blog post, and it will kind of show you where I entered and how I managed this trade and how I got stopped out and so on and so forth. Had I been a little more loose with my stop if I wasn't leaving the office? Yes. But I did have a doctor's appointment to attend, and in doing so, I had ran my stop fairly tight, and it did get knocked out. However, they were both profitable trades. Both of them did cover at least 50% at a target, and the other 50% was stopped out. And like I said, I'll include a video in this blog post just so you can kind of see how I managed this and how it all kind of worked its way through. But yeah, guys, this candle specifically in the morning when I came to my trading terminal led me to take a breather and say, all right, I really now have to look for a push back into some prior resistance, significant resistance, before I consider trying to short a market that was already in a downtrend. But I was led to believe, based on my understanding of the Hawkeye volume and price action, that there was a good chance this early morning candle was going to put in some type of low. Now, when I come to my trading terminal, I have this little book here, okay? I handwrite my notes, and my notes were this, and I'll read them to you. Monday, July 8th, 2024. There was no economic news. The short-term trend was in a downtrend, right? The short-term trend had a bias to the downside. Possible session low at 6:10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, why do I write this down in real time? Because if it's in black and white ink, right, like I can't go back and erase it. So I write it so that when I go to reflect on what I did for the day, I can now go, okay, this morning when I came to my trading terminal, I had written down that there was potentially a session low placed at 6:10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And you could see, again, as I kind of roll these out, that level was not retested until the session close at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So what I'd like you to do, if you enjoyed this video, I'd like you to learn more about understanding volume and price action, because it will become the foundation of your trading career, okay? If you see any of my videos, you'll understand that my charts are essentially naked, right? I have a higher time frame bias, and then I'm looking on a primary time frame that I'm looking to enter. I reference a 3-minute, like I shared with you in the beginning. I typically trade on a 5. Sometimes I look at a 2 or a 1. I look to the trend on the 15. But the reality is the chart that I place my trade on has nothing on it but Hawkeye volume and price action. Why? Because you'll be distracted by too much stuff, and you'll miss the bigger picture. And believe it or not, guys, the bigger picture is really what matters, all right? If you can understand the relationship between volume and price action, which many of you probably don't understand it as well as you should, and we're going to teach it to you, right? So I'd like you to join me in a training webinar. I'm going to put a link also below this video. Click on it, attend the training webinar, take out a notebook, okay? Jot down whatever notes and questions you may have. Feel free to reach out to us. You can reach out to myself, my Hawkeye Concierge team. We'll answer your questions. Let's get the indicators populated on your chart, okay? You may be using TradeStation, TradingView, NinjaTrader, or MetaTrader. Our software will code to each and any one of those platforms. So there's, the most popular traded platforms will support this software, all right? Not only are we going to give you this software so that you can access what the Hawkeye volume and price action looks like, we're also going to give you access to the Hawkeye Volume Mastery Series. Why do I want you to have access to this library? Well, it's really important that you understand the interaction between volume and price action, right? Just like I did when I came to the market this morning and said, hey, you know what, Anthony? You better jot this down in your notebook because something's cooking here at 6:10, right? That could either potentially be the session low, it could be a short-term low, but this area is definitely going to be either a hard spot to overcome or a targeted area that the market may go back towards, all right? So I knew this all day. So when I took my shorts at the higher resistance, I knew what I was targeting. Now, I also know to pay and protect myself along the way, right? You need a well thought out trade plan. You need good risk management, but it makes life much easier to anticipate what the market is likely to do if you understand the interaction between volume and price action. So that's what I'd like you to do next. Watch the training webinar. Let's get the indicators populated up on your charts, all right? Let's get you access to the Hawkeye Volume Mastery Series. Take a deep dive into that library at your own pace. Get a full understanding of the interaction between volume and price action so that you can execute upon it, all right, guys? This is the game changer. Right? A lot of people they want some indicator to do it for them, right? I always call it the dancing unicorn. Some dancing unicorn is going to come across my screen and tell me where to buy and sell. No, it's not, right? There's no buy and sell indicator out there in existence, right? And I can tell you this for certain, that if you followed every buy and sell suggestion blindly, that you're going to end up being profitable. Why? Because it doesn't include any risk management, it doesn't include any trade planning, it doesn't include any multiple time frame buys. All that stuff is nonsense. Take it all off your screen, focus on the volume and price action, understand what's happening, understand what a volume climax looks like, understand where there's a high presence of new buyers stepping in. Well, what do you think's going to happen when you have strong selling with no follow-through and new buyers stepping in at a low of the session? There's a good chance a reversal is going to happen. And I want you guys to be able to understand that stuff. So when you come to your trading terminal, you can sit there and go, hey, you know what? I know the market's in a downtrend, at least on a short-term basis, but I'm not about to short against what could be the session low. Right? Again, it's written down in my notebook so that I know I didn't just think of that, later on in the day. No. I can go back and say, all right, I wrote this at 7:20 a.m. Eastern Standard Time that I believe that the 610 or 612 low is significant. And I want you guys to understand that stuff, because if you do, you will realize very quickly just how powerful that knowledge becomes. So again, I'll head below this video, check out the training webinar, take your notes, feel free to reach out with any questions. Let's get you these indicators populating on your screen. Let's get you set up, with the Hawkeye Mastery Series access so that you can start consuming this content, so that you can start calling potential reversals, highs and lows of the session like I do every single day. I want you to know what I know. I know what I know because I am a paying Hawkeye customer. All right, guys, I'll see you in the next video. Head below, check out that training webinar. Feel free to reach out with any questions. Let's get these indicators on your screen. Let's get you access to the Volume Mastery Series videos. Let's get your trade plan straightened out so that you know what to focus on, when, where, and why, who's in control uniquely, and then you can trade alongside those folks. Thanks again. I'll see you in the next video, and have a phenomenal day.